Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Jason Clemens, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. This is Monday, May the 5th. Hope you guys had a great day. We hope you had a great weekend. We had a great weekend. We got to go see our son put on a show in Fort Worth this weekend. That's why I wasn't on the air on Friday night live. And so we went and did that this weekend. It was good. We got back yesterday and we're not having Taking Health to Church tonight. So if you are, this is 2 weeks in a row that we haven't done this, but I didn't make it to church yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to watch the sermon yesterday. So Monday nights we usually do Taking Health to Church, which is our segment where we take the sermon from Sunday's lesson and we apply it to life on Monday. Well, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to apply some different lessons to life on Monday. And then hopefully by next week, we'll catch back up on our Taking Health to Church. So if you are tuning in to catch that, we're not doing that tonight, but we're going to have a great show anyway. We did have a great weekend. We went and we had to take care of some business in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And at the same time, we got to see our son, and we got to go to his show. They're doing a good job at Pascal High School in the theater department. And, I was sitting there watching the show, and I was thinking that I should announce this. People can do whatever they want to with their money, right? There's all kinds of things that people can do with their money. So I just want to put this out there. If there's anybody out there who ever wanted to if you just had a little extra money and you just wanted to donate some money to something because you thought you just were looking for a good cause to donate it to, you could donate it to the Pascal High School Theater Booster Club. And I promise you that all the money that you were to donate to the Pascal High School Theater Booster Club will go straight to the kids that are in the Pascal Theater for something to improve the theater in some form or fashion. So I was thinking about that. I thought I would just make that announcement. Yeah, I don't make very many announcements as far as money goes on our show that we do, but I was just thinking that there's lots of theater gets squeezed a lot, but there's a bunch of kids involved in it. I think there was, I don't know, I was trying to count them on stage. There's probably at one point 20 kids on the stage at the same time. They do a great job of getting a lot of kids involved in their theater. They're doing a good job building a program there. And I think this was the 7th show that they put on, and they do each show 3 or 4 times. And so they are busy, and they have a lot of kids involved in what they're doing there at Pascal Theater. And so we got to go watch that. Alice from the Heart or something like that was the name of it. So we went and watched it, and Jacob did a good job. It was a good time, and girls got to do a little shopping, and we got home yesterday. So it was good. We had a good weekend. And then we got after it this morning. We've had a busy day right here at the Rock, talking about health and wellness. And I was going to do kind of a review show tonight. I was going to just talk about some things, but there's 2 or 3 things that are kind of on my mind, and I thought I would just share with them tonight because I get, I don't know why. I saw an article one time, and it was from Nature magazine, and so I don't know what I did. I subscribed, I guess, to Nature magazine. I get these emails from Nature magazine, and I just kind of. It's the International Journal of Science, Nature, right? And I just click on them and see if I think it was something about neurology or something that I looked at one time. And it was kind of it's just whatever. It just was looking at it and seeing if there was something that I was interested in. So I signed up for it, and for some reason I get a email, and this is what I got today. And so I'll just go through there and I'll just look and see if they have any articles. If there's anything in there that might make any sense, or if there's anything in there that might help us learn something, or if there's anything that I might learn something. And so I'll just flip through to through the one page, and I get to this page here, and it's the contents. So I just look down through here, and I just see what the articles are saying, and see if there's anything I want to read about. And I don't know if liberal is the right word. I don't know if conservative or liberal or smart or dumb. I don't know what it is, scientific or non-scientific. There's a world out there that is so different than the world that I live in, and it's so it geographical. Maybe I don't know. The conversations that we have in West Texas, the conversations that I have in my little bubble that I live in, is so different than what the conversations are in different bubbles. I guess I should say that. I don't know. Um, this the reason I'm bringing it up. You're like, where are you going with this, right? I don't care. I don't care. I think in the United States of America, it's like, look, if you want to spend your day studying anything you want to study, and if you want to spend your day doing whatever it is you want to do, as long as it's not hurting anybody else or interfering with somebody else's life, then God bless you, go do it. Like, whatever. There's people that like dogs and there's people that like cats, right? I don't like cats particularly. Now, I love people, and there's some people that I love that love cats. We just differ in that thing. I love dogs, but I don't have a dog and I don't want a dog. It's just some people, we talk about this a lot. It's like some people are Texas Longhorn fans. Like, God bless you. Go ahead, be a Texas Longhorn fan, whatever. Like cats and be a Texas Longhorn fan, whatever. I don't care, right? And these guys that write this article, that write these stories, they can write whatever they want to write. They can. It's their magazine, and they can write it. And I don't have to read their magazine. And it's kind of like, go ahead. It's your magazine. You just write whatever you want to, and that's what they do. They just write whatever they want to. But I just want to make sure that the people that are listening to this show, when you read something like that, you don't get confused about it, or or at least you have a balanced perspective. You have a rebuttal that maybe you've heard somewhere along the way. And when I read these, it kind of makes me sick at my stomach just reading them. And so I have to sift through and sift through and sift through. And it's the very first one that I saw was, it says, don't abandon something. The end of AIDS is in sight. Like, they're finally figuring out AIDS. And I'm like, and then they're going to gripe about it. But the second one, it said, historic pandemic treaty is a triumph for multilateral cooperation. So I clicked on it. And it talked about this historic pandemic treaty that was signed, and this is in the editorials, but it was signed, let's see if I can, I'll just read a little part of it. It says, I'm overwhelmed, overjoyed. These were the words of Precious Matsoso, co-chair of the World Health Organization group tasked with negotiating the first global treaty on preventing and responding to pandemics. Okay, there's a group of people out there that spend all day long preventing and responding to pandemics. Well, we could have prevented. You know what they're saying now? You know what they're saying about this pandemic that we just went through in 2020, that this pandemic started in the United States. And you know who told me that first? Judy Mikovits told me that in March of 2020. Now, I don't know if Judy Mikovits is some sort of CIA operative, or if she's exactly where she comes from, or what. I don't know why she showed up on the scene at this particular time, but I've listened to her speak a lot in the last 5 years, 4.5 years. And I've read about 3 or 4 books that she's written. And she has taught me so much about things. Judy Mikovits is her name. And Mikovitz, I think, or S. I don't know, Judy. But I've listened to so much. She told us way back in 2020 exactly where this virus came from. Said it came from Fort Detrick, Maryland. It was being worked on with the people from China, people at Harvard, people at North Carolina. All of them were making that thing together. And then they did the ban on the gain of function research, and then they sent it over to Wuhan. And now, guess what they're saying? They're saying that that's exactly what happened, right? So these guys in the magazine are getting together, and they're so excited because the World Health Organization signed this treaty about how do we prevent and respond to pandemics. I'm like, well, you could prevent it by quit doing all that crap you guys do in those labs. That would be one way to prevent it. Stop doing gain of function research on things that you know shouldn't be done. That you don't have to be, magna cum laude to figure that out. It's like you guys are the ones that started the whole thing in the first place, right? And then how we're going to respond to pandemics. I am not going to respond the same way that those people are going to respond. I think that's part of the reason that President Trump got us out of the World Health Organization. And they make this point in here. They say that the draft treaty represents the first time that the world has agreed the bare bones of a plan focused on prevention of preparedness for and response to a pandemic. It took more than 3 years and 13 formal rounds of meeting to negotiate. At times, there were reasons to think negotiations might fail, including seemingly intractable disagreements. That was even before the announcement in January, after the election of Donald Trump as president, that the United States intended to withdraw from WHO, World Health Organization, and would take no further part in the treaty talks. Yeah, good. That's what I think. I think good on that. Leave us alone. You went through this once, and you silenced all the wellness people, and you didn't let us talk about anything. And I got letters from my state board, and I had to wear a mask, and I had to spread all these people out and do all this stuff, and it was nonsense. And now we've got this way that we're going to, we're all going to share the vaccines with each other, and we're all going to make it, all these rules and all that sort of thing. And I just think when you read something like that, to me, it's like, look, just don't get confused about some of the things that you might read. And I know you guys you probably don't even read it, and you probably don't even care, really. And I know a lot of you guys are way smarter than I am, and you're way more mature than I am for sure. So you're probably saying to just like move on, right? I just think to myself, it's just kind of like good, like because there's another article. It's like there's one of them here that says U.S. science is under attack. Can it survive Trump 2.0? U.S. science is not under attack. Maybe U.S. scientists are under attack. But science is not under attack. These guys are full of crap as far as I'm concerned. They're the ones that just make up a bunch of stuff. And it takes forever, and they spend all kinds of money, and they waste all kinds of money. And they waste taxpayer money working on things that don't have anything to do with health. It's like going to a cancer run, and at the end of the cancer run, you're going to get an ice cream cone at the end of the cancer run. Like National Cancer Institute or whatever, American Cancer Society. We're going to have a fun run to raise money so that we can eliminate cancer. And at the end of the run, we're going to feed you sugar. Every single time I see that, it's like really, all that stuff is nonsense. I just think, I don't even know why. I don't even know why I keep this subscription. I just want to know if they come up with anything about neurology or your brain or anything like that. It's just, the world was on track. Here's one of them. The world was on track to end the AIDS epidemic, and then came Trump. Well, what's taking you so long to end the AIDS epidemic? When have you done anything about health? When have you done anything that, like, you've had, it's like cancer and heart disease have been the number one problems in the United States for 50-something years. And they're still the number one problems in the United States in 50 years. And when health people talk about getting rid of heart disease, and we talk about getting rid of cancer, we talk about doing things well and increasing your chances of getting rid of all that stuff. They don't apply that stuff on any scale anywhere along the way. They've had way more time to get rid of it. And to get rid of AIDS, are you kidding me? And then, but make sure you get your flu shot. Make sure you get your vaccines and your flu shot and ramp up your immune system and get your immune system heightened to the level it's unbelievable, right? It's like, I just think this stuff right here, me personally, I think it's nonsense. I can't wait to get rid of all that crap and all those wasted money. And I wish they really would get rid of a bunch of that stuff. And it's kind of nice to have, and I'm not a political guy really, but it is kind of nice to have a president that, and put together some people that would get rid of some of that stuff. Your family will be healthier. You will be healthier. Your family will be healthier. Our community would be healthier if we would do healthy things. That's the bottom line. We would all be healthier if we would do healthy things. I met with people all day long. I met with people that I adjusted people today that were dealing with AFib and had to wear heart monitors. I adjusted people today that have endometrial biopsies and polycystic ovary syndromes, and people that have arthritis in their hip, and people that are dealing with memory issues and all kinds of things like that. And all of those things are related to eat well, move well, and think well. That's the way you be well, right? And I know you're listening to this show because of that. You want to be well, right? You eat well, you move well, and you think well. But then you don't eat well, and you don't move well, and you don't think well, and then you manifest something that makes you want to go to the doctor to do some sort of biopsy to see if the crap that you've been doing is manifesting itself in some sort of cancer. It's like first time my father-in-law went to the Scott and White Hospital with diabetes, they told him, go home, change your diet, and exercise. Come back and see us in a year. What did he do? He went home, he didn't change his diet, and he didn't exercise. He owned a donut store. He didn't do it. He ate a donut every day. The best donuts in the world I ever had. He ate a donut every day. He didn't exercise. He went back in a year. He was sicker than he was the year before. So they said, we can't do anything with you. You're going to have to go to Baylor Medical. It was like, what did you think was going to happen to your body if you didn't eat well, you didn't move well, and you didn't think well? Did you think you were going to get healthier next year? No, you're not going to get healthier next year. It's like, that's the thing when I read these articles in these magazines. They don't want to talk about that. The people that own these magazines, most of those people own the pharmaceutical companies and the pharma, and food. I bet you, I used to go in chiropractic school. Now listen to this. We used to have magazines in chiropractic school in our lobby of our clinic. And I used to go sit in the lobby when I didn't have any patients. And I set records. Matter of fact, I did more patient volume in my number 8 trimester than anybody in the history of Parker College up until that point. So nobody did more services than I did when I was in Tri 8 in the history of our school, until Dr. Fraley came along after me and blew my deal out of the water. And then I don't even know where I am on the list now. But I was busy while I was in chiropractic school. But what I would do is I'd go sit in the lobby when I in between patients or when I didn't have a patient, and I would go through the People magazine or the Sports Illustrated magazine or whatever, and I would just rip out all of the drug ads that were in the magazines. I'd be sitting there and someone would walk by and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, they're getting rid of the drug ads that are in the... That's why we don't have magazines in my office. If you go into any doctor's office, there'll be some sort of magazines laying on the table that have some... It's like, whatever, Good Housekeeping or whatever the thing is, then they'll have them all over their office. And you flip it, and it's like drug ad after drug ad after drug ad. And if you watch 60 Minutes on Sunday, it's drug ad after any of the shows that you watch on TV, it's drug ad after drug ad, right? So that's where these people, that's where all this funding comes from. That's where all that stuff comes from. And that's their little griping, whining selves about, oh my gosh, like science is under attack. Science is not under attack. Science was made by God. Science is science. It's been the same science since the very first 6 days. It's been in existence. There's nothing ever changed about science. It's been the truth. We've just been discovering over a bunch of years. And so it's like maybe we should get a get a new group of people working on stuff. I'm not. I didn't even mean to get all off on that, but that's like bunch of whining little sissy boys, just disgusting. Like you was like that's not my style of people. It's not my style of people because they don't care about you when you're sick. That's the thing that bothers me a lot of times about all these people that want to be in the health and wellness industry that don't care about you when you're sick. They just say things to say things to that gets people. We got all kinds of stuff going on these days in the world. One guy was telling me about red light lamps and stuff last week. Great, okay, people just they just get in the wellness business and they just start selling wellness stuff, and it's like, do you have any idea what if this stuff is good or bad or works or doesn't work or whatever? And if someone's in the hospital, are you going to go see them? If you are you going to refill like try to work on it to the point where they don't get sick? Or are you just going to sell this lamp and then just move along? Right? Anyway, all right. Enough. I really had an awesome day. I did. I just saw this article earlier today around lunch or something, this whole magazine thing. And I was like, oh, got me all fired up. Okay, let's talk about something because it was kind of a part of the review, and it'll be fun for the rest of the show. It'll be a little bit of a review, but I had a guy come see me today that I haven't seen. I've only seen him twice. I saw him once in 2019. I saw him once in 2024. And so he kind of does things a little different. He's a good, really nice guy. Good dude. Take care of his wife every once in a while. Good family. I really do kind of like him. He just doesn't really buy into the stuff that I do, right? Which is totally fine. I don't buy into the magazines either. So it's all good. There's cats and dog people, right? All right. But he asked me the question. He asked me some questions about, man, my neck is really stiff. And my shoulders like I came to see you in 2024 and my shoulders still hurt. I was like, well, okay. Jesus is the only person that I've ever heard of that just lays his hands on you and you're healed, right? I am not to that level yet. So in my office, we got to work on some things. We have to actually, we got to process, right? Because I haven't got to that Jesus level. But anyway, he had some forward head posture. He had a lot of pain in his neck, in shoulders. He had restricted range of motion in both directions. And he still has the pain in the shoulder joint, right? So I just thought about that, and then I saw this article, and the article made me think about it, and let me see if I can pull this article up. Okay. I saw this article and I just thought, hey, you know what? This fits. This whole thing. And it's kind of a cool article, and we may have gone over this at some point in the past. But the question, the title of the article, it says, does improvement towards a normal cervical sagittal configuration, does an improvement in the cervical curve aid in management of the lumbosacral radiculopathy? A randomized controlled trial. This is in the Journal of Clinical Medicine in September of 2022. What they're asking is, does improving your cervical curve help manage your lumbar spine pain? And radiculopathy means that the nerve root that's coming off of the spinal cord that might get compressed at some point, that puts that pain that runs down your leg, or it comes around to the front of your thigh, or it runs at the top of your thigh or down into your foot, right? Does your neck have anything to do with your low back function? That's really what the article is talking about. And it's really pretty cool. It's I don't even know who these. Deed Harrison was one of the people. The study cites 55 references, and there were 45 males and 35 females, 80 subjects between the ages between 40 and 55 years old, and they had what was called a hypolordotic cervical curve, or reverse cervical curve, or less than a normal cervical curve. And so they went in and did this study. And so you might not understand this, and we're going to take a break here in just a second. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to go through this whole article, and we're going to look at some things with the way that your neck is structured and the way that your low back is functioning. And those things are related to themselves. So if you don't understand that, why does my low back keep hurting? Well, maybe your low back keeps hurting because your cervical curve is wrong, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. Sorry about the rant. I didn't mean to get into that, but we'll take the break. We'll be right back right after these messages, and then we'll get into the cervical curve stuff as it relates to your low back. So you guys stick around with us, and we'll be right back. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. Okay. We'll let those guys get back before we get into this cervical curve. Then that is, if you guys that are watching the show, that's what we call a Denny roll right there. That cervical curve device. You could get all kinds of cervical curve devices. My favorite one is the Dakota Wedge. I don't know if I've got a picture of the Dakota Wedge. Yeah, I do. I'll show it to you while we're that right there is the Dakota Wedge. That's the one that is my favorite of all the cervical curve traction units that I've ever seen. This right here is my favorite one. It's soft, and it's very compliant. It's easy to be compliant on it. It works fantastic. It elevates the shoulders up off the table so that you can translate the ears behind the midline. And I'll try to show you what that means here in just a second. But that's a cervical tractioning device. A neck traction device is what that is right there. And it's really handy. It's really great. It's almost 100%. People come in. I did it. I said it even today. I had a lady. She said, "What is this right here that hurts so bad?" And I felt of it, and it was pretty hard. And I said, "I'm pretty sure that's a bone spur on your neck." And she was like, "Well, what do we do about it?" And I said, "Well, are you doing your tractioning?" And she just looked at me because they all everybody that has neck pain, and I say, "When you do your tractioning, they almost always do they say, 'Nope, I haven't been doing my tractioning.'" And then they'll go home and they'll do their tractioning with that wedge right there, and then they'll come back next week, and I'll be like, "How's your neck?" And they'll be like, "It's so much better." And I'll be like, "Well, of course it's better. It's because you did your tractioning." This particular lady, she told me, "Well, I'm going to have to put my traction unit upstairs instead of having it downstairs where I work out. I might have to have it upstairs." And I said, "Yeah, whatever it takes. It's like it'd be great to just get it to where you could have it right there in front of you so you could do your traction." And we'll talk about why, but that's. Hang on, let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC, and we're going to spend the second half of the show talking about the relationship between the cervical curve, your neck, the curve in your neck, and your low back. And over the break, I was talking to the people on the radio about this little device because I've got a picture of a lady laying on her back and she's laying over what we call a Denny roll, and um, it's just a traction device. It's nothing special. It doesn't mean like you got to just get your neck into traction. There's some things that I like specifically about the one that we have that I just showed. It's called the Dakota Wedge traction unit. You could look it up. And the Dakota Wedge is elevated. It's like a triangle. And it's got an elevation. And I think, me personally, I like it better because it raises the shoulders up off of the table. It brings the shoulders up, which allows us to bring the ears back behind the shoulder. You can kind of see in this particular picture that right here that we have on the internet, that on a social media show, you can see right here to where the ear is not translated posterior behind the shoulder. It's basically in line with the shoulder. And which is, I'm not saying that that's not okay, but I just think that for years and years and years, that being able to get that ear behind your shoulder with a fulcrum underneath your neck is really beneficial to the way that you should do traction. Okay? And it's like, why would I do traction? What is the point of tractioning in the first place? Well, the point of tractioning in the first place is to try to get your cervical curve to be proper. Because if your cervical curve is wrong, then you'll end up having all kinds of problems. So this, just to show you real quickly, this is a normal cervical curve. Each bone is right on the green line. And then this is what we call a reversed cervical curve. The red dotted line is behind the green line. And then what we get is, over time, we get this degeneration down here with these little bone spurs that happen because abnormal movement is happening in the neck. You guys know this. Abnormal movement over time, abnormal movement and abnormal chemistry is what causes that disc to degenerate. It has zero to do with age. That's what the guy told me. He's like, well, maybe it's just because of my age. My shoulders hurt because of my age. And I knew he was younger than I was, but I had to look. I looked up on his chart, and he was born in 1977. And I was born in 1970. And so I don't know what month it was, but I'm 6 years and something older than him. So many months older than he is, and my shoulders don't hurt. Now, why is that? How can you say that? How can you say that the reason that your shoulders hurt is because of your age when there's older people than you that don't have the same pains that you have? It's just nonsensical sentences that we say out loud because we don't know anything else to say. That's really the truth. We don't really know why our shoulders are hurting, so we just say it's just because I'm old, right? But it's nonsense because the disc that's worn out in the neck is the same age as the disc that's right below it that looks beautiful, and the disc that's right below that looks beautiful, and the disc that's 2 above it that looks beautiful. So you've got a disc that's healthy, a disc that's healthy, one that's starting to degenerate. Now you've got one that's degenerating. Then you've got one that's healthy and one that's healthy. Why is that? Why is the segment in the middle wearing out and degenerative? Well, because of abnormal movement and abnormal chemistry. Now, the abnormal chemistry is applied to all of the joints. The abnormal chemistry is in the same, this one's got abnormal chemistry, this one's got abnormal chemistry, this one's got abnormal chemistry. All of those have the same abnormal chemistry, because what does that mean? Abnormal chemistry means your 6:3 ratio and all of those things that's inside your body, any sort of toxins that you have in your body, high cholesterol issues that you might have in your body, or whatever's causing your plaquing in your body, all of those type of things, which you get, by the way, from eating refined carbohydrates, mostly. It's not from eating fat. It's from eating carbohydrates. That's causing your cholesterol to go up. If you want your cholesterol to go down, stop eating refined carbohydrates. It's very, very simple, except for maybe in a very, very, very small population. The rest of us, it's because of the complex carbohydrates that we're eating. I mean, the refined carbohydrates that we're eating, right? So the chemistry is the same in every joint, but the abnormal movement and the pressure that's getting put on this disc and these bones is what's causing that to deteriorate. So how would you correct that? You would correct that by doing your tractioning and working on your frontal lobe. Those are the two things that corrects that cervical curve. You can do some at AMIT, some advanced muscle integration technique to help speed that up. If you've got some muscles that are off, that's something that we can do. But you want to correct that, right? So what this article is saying, what we're talking about in this article is we're talking about is there a relationship between the way that your neck curve is and your low back pain and radiculopathy? And the answer to that is yes. So let's go back and look at the article. And let's kind of work through the article right here. So let's see, chronic discogenic lumbosacral radiculopathy. That's their big one right there. Chronic discogenic lumbosacral radiculopathy. Genic, anytime you see genic or genesis, that's the beginning, right? That's the cause of something. So discogenic means that the cause of the lumbosacral radiculopathy is the disc. The disc is causing the problem, okay? So chronic disc problems that are leading to nerve root compression in your low back. That's what CDLR is in this particular thing. It's measured by x-rays, giving a pain scale, an osteoarthritis disability index, 51 neurophysiological responses measured by the Hoffman reflex. So they did all this stuff, right? Okay. 45 males, 35 females, 80 subjects between the ages of 40 and 55 had this CDLR with the definite hypolordotic cervical spine and forward head posture. Because forward head posture, for every 25 millimeters, 2.5 centimeters, for every 25 millimeters of forward head posture, you put an extra 10 pounds of pressure on your low back. And everybody who's ever carried something heavy right up next to them knows that that's true. If you pick up a case of water and you carry that case of water right up next to you, it's a lot easier to carry than if you push it out in front of you. If anything, you could pick up anything. Like, I got a spare Bible right here. It's a thick one too. If I hold this Bible right up next to me, it's relatively easy to hold. But if I move this thing out in front of me and I hold it with two hands out in front of me, I can already feel my back muscles tighten up. They're starting to get tight right below my shoulder blades and then between there and the top of my hips. I can feel my muscles. Why? Because I've got all this weight on the fulcrum that's way out in front of me. And I've got to counterbalance that by contracting what's my muscles in my back. So that's what our body does all day long, is if our head is forward and we walk around with forward head posture, then we're putting that extra strain on the muscles of the low back. And we've got to get those discs properly treated in the low back, or we're going to have this pain, right? Subjects were randomly assigned a control group and a study group who used the Dinerol. I call it a Dinerol, yes. Cervical fulcrum traction device. The reason they use the Dinerol is because they own the Dinerol. That's why they did. They got tired of buying those wedges from Dr. Price in Georgia, and so they made their own wedges. It's like ridiculous, right? There's nothing fancy about that denny roll other than the fact that it had to be different than the Dakota wedge, and it's harder. And I think it hurts more, and so people don't want to do it as much. But both groups also used tins and hot packs. Okay, that's an interesting piece of information. With the dinner roll, the participants must lie on a firm surface such as the floor and place the peak of the dinner roll just at the end of the apex of their cervical curve abnormality as shown on the lateral cervical x-ray. So you have to move that thing around a little bit depending on where your problem is. The dinner roll uses sustained cervical spine extension loading in a supine position in order to create visoelastic creep deformation in the connective tissue of the spine, leading to more consistent and effective correlation of the cervical sagittal alignment. That's when smart people write stuff, right? When smart people write stuff, it's like they write a deal like that. And I know they're trying to be scientific, right? But it's like we're trying to figure out what the heck they're talking about, and that's nonsense. Here's the thing. They used cervical spine extension loading, cervical curve tractioning in order to create viscoelastic creep deformation. What that means is anytime you have this plasticity in your tissue, you have three types of physics going on. You have elasticity, you have plasticity, and you have viscosity. Those are the three things that are going on in your tissues. Elasticity, you pick your hand up and the skin goes back to where it came from. That's elasticity. Plasticity is a little different. It actually, if you're going to change the structure of plastic, you have to put a sustained load on the plastic and you have to wait it out. And then you have to repeat it and you have to wait it out. If I was to put too much load on this cap, I got a highlighter right here on my desk, okay? I take the cap off the highlighter and it's in a circle. If I want to turn it into an oval, I can do that. But I have to put pressure on the cap, and I have to hold the pressure on the cap for a certain amount of time. But I have to be careful because if I press down, if I put a critical force into the cap, if I step on the cap, I'm going to crack the plastic. And if I crack the plastic, I can never fix the plastic back to its original shape. When you're dealing with plastics, you can't fix it once you reach a critical force. And nobody wants to reach a critical force on the ligament on the front part of the neck. You don't want to do that. So what you do is you put sustained load, and it's got to be, I think it's 500 seconds. So you got to get, that's where all the work gets done when you're doing your tractioning, and you have to get it up to 18 minutes. So it's really between 8 and 18 minutes is where most of the work gets done when you're doing your tractioning. And you overcome this creep deformation is what they're talking about in the connective tissue of the spine. And that's what you're trying to do with your tractioning. The reason you traction, you need to, people will tell me all the time, Doc, I've been tractioning for months and it's not getting any better. And I'm like, are you getting to 18 minutes? No, I can't. It hurts when I go that long. I just go for about 8 minutes. I go for about 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll go 10 minutes. And I'm like, it's the same issue that people have with fish oil. They'll say, I try fish oil. That's what the guy said today. I said, I eat fish oil and turmeric. And he's like, well, I took fish oil for a long time. And I was like, take more of it. Take more of it. Triple it. Quadruple it. Take more of it. And then find out what it does to your joint pain. I promise you, just take more of it. You're like, well, I'm already taking 1,000 milligrams. Take 10,000 milligrams. 10x that, dude. Take 20,000 milligrams. Get your inflammation down. Okay? So that's what you're doing with the connective tissue of the spine, leading to more consistent and effective correction of the cervical sagittal alignment. That's all they're saying. It's just we're going to use the tractioning to overcome that property, that plastic property. And they begin with 3 minutes per session and progress to a maximum of 20 minutes per session in an incremental fashion. The reason it's a maximum is that 3 to 18 minutes of time is where they get all the work done. It does not help to do cervical tractioning for an hour. It doesn't do you any good because the way it changes right there. Okay, so 3 Denadrol treatments were used 3 times per week for 10 weeks with 6-month follow-up. And then they did all these x-rays and they measured all kinds of stuff. And so here's the key points of the article. Lumbosacral radiculopathy associated with disc herniation is one of the most common health-related complaints. When you have nerve pain running down your leg in some form or fashion, and it's related to that disc, it's one of the most common health-related complaints. It's why I constantly try to get us to get out of flexion in the lumbar spine. That's what the articles, the shows were last week was about, was this, with the flexion part of it, right? It's got to get that extension. We got to get the lumbar spine into extension or we're going to have this disc problem. I'm going to get to that comment in just a minute, but let me finish this for a second. Okay, so all patients had a confirmed chronic unilateral one-side lumbosacral radiculopathy associated with the L5-S1 lumbar disc prolapse with symptoms lasting longer than 3 months. Okay, that's a big point to the article. The big point to the article is saying that the L5-S1 disc, all the patients had a confirmed chronic one-sided disc radiculopathy. They got pain running into their glute or down their leg or all the way down into their shin or something, but it's down there at the L5-S1 disc. And the L5-S1 disc, these people, if you keep going, it'll say all the patients had a unilateral leg pain with mild to moderate disability according to the osseohistory. The primary hypothesis of the study was that cervical curve restoration and forward head posture reduction will have short and long-term effects on the 3-dimensional spinal postural parameters as well as the lumbar radiculopathy management outcomes such as symptoms, disability, and neurophysiological findings. Yeah, you're going to be better if you fix your cervical curve. That's what it was talking about, right? Altered regional and full spine alignment and biomechanics play a role in low back discal pathology. Altered regional and full spine alignment. It's one of the things when you're dealing with insurance companies that's so ridiculous about where you adjusted them or why you adjusted them here and you didn't adjust them there. It's like why you go to a chiropractor and he just looks at your low back. You know what I did with the guy today? When I adjusted his low back, his mid back, his upper back, his neck, his left arm, and sent him into the gym. I did soft tissue work on his neck, and then I sent him into the gym to work on his brain. Why did I do that? Because he came into my office complaining of neck and shoulder pain. It's like, wait a minute, why did you do all that stuff when he had neck and shoulder pain? Because his neck and shoulder pain is an expression of his global body function. And his lumbar spine is related to his neck. And his brain is related to his neck. And all of it fits together all the way around, right? Altered trunk posture and lumbar spine hypolordotic alignment are important factors contributing to the development of low back pain. Altered trunk posture. Where's your chest in relation to your low back? Where's your chest in relation to your hip? Where's your hip in relation to your knee? Those are all important things. Head and neck alignment play a role in whole body pain and impairment, including low back and related disorders. Head and neck alignment. Is your ear over your shoulder? Or is your ear forward? Are your shoulders rolling? Right? Like if we have to get down to the ridiculousness of back pain, then it always is affected in some form or fashion. Put that head forward, and it causes your everything to malfunction. And then the more important thing to me is, why is the head forward? Because we could get into um, it's not the what, you have forward head posture. Okay, so what? Why did I get forward head posture? That's why my 77-year-old guy that came in today that is wearing a heart monitor. And I'm like, okay, like, why? Well, why is your heart going into AFib? That's the question. Not that your heart is going into AFib. You ever heard Ron White talk about living through a hurricane? He said it's not that it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. This guy was going to tie himself to a tree, and he was going to make it through a hurricane. He was going to prove that he could make it through the winds of a hurricane. And Ron White said, it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. Because when you get hit by a Volvo, it doesn't matter how many push-ups you could do. I thought that was funny, right? It's not that you have forward head posture. It's why do you have forward head posture? Why is your head forward? Why are muscles on your front pulling your head forward and down? Why are you getting flexion into these SCM muscles and these paraspinal muscles in your cervical spine? Why is your head forward? Could it have to do with your frontal lobe not inhibiting these muscles? That's what we talked about last week, right? We know that having forward head posture messes up your entire function of your body, all the way down to your feet. It could do that. Correction of the altered cervical spine alignment could be required to achieve optimal full spine postural correction, where the rest of the spine orients itself in a top-down fashion. Abnormal cervical posture, flexion, and translation increases the stress and strain on the entire spinal cord and nerve roots. I will say that again. Abnormal cervical posture, flexion, and translation, one way or the other, right, increases the stress and strain on the entire spinal cord and nerve roots. Your entire spinal cord. A dime's weight of pressure on a spinal nerve root can decrease the amount of energy by 40%. A dime's weight of pressure, forward head posture pulling on those nerves, can interfere with the way that your nervous system functions. Lumbosacral radiculopathy and low back pain treatment today is university lacking investigation seeking to understand the influence of alignment of the cervical spine relative to pain, disability, and other management outcomes. I totally agree with that. And I think it's in our profession, they're getting more and more away from teaching the kids in school to take x-rays. And it's just hogwash. And especially if they tell you that you have to have a cervical complaint to take a cervical x-ray. And if a patient comes in with lumbar spine pain, then you should only take a lumbar spine x-ray. That is so incompetent, in my opinion. And it's so immature. It's like, that's not the way it works. So it's like, yes, I'm going to take a lateral cervical x-ray on every person that comes into the office that is of age that it makes any sense. I don't care if you've got knee strain. I don't care if you've got plantar fasciitis in your foot. I don't care if you got I don't care what your problem is. You can have eczema, skin condition. You're going to get a lateral cervical x-ray because it's that important to know what's going on with your cervical curve. So here are the results to this. And I might actually say the results because I got a comment from one of our listeners. It says this: I caught COVID in Thailand. Stop. We're gonna put the rest of this on hold till tomorrow. We'll pick up right there at results. But it says, I caught COVID in Thailand in October of 2019 before it got to the United States. And he says, I like cats, but I also like dogs. Just saying. Eat well, do well is a true statement. Yes. That thing was loose. It didn't get invented in the Wuhan lab. It got invented in Fort Detrick, Maryland, and the rats that they used came from North Carolina. And they've been working on that thing. That's what they knew what they were doing. And when President Obama there was 700 scientists that signed a petition that says, please stop gain of function research in the United States. And President Obama signed it. They had to stop it. And Dr. Fauci and them, they moved it to Wuhan. So that thing was around before 2020. I personally think I might have got it in November because I actually thought I might die in November because that's before I was doing things like I was supposed to do. But thanks for the comment. Yeah, if I get any stray cats, I'll send them your way. You guys, that's the end of the show. That's all I got for you, and we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll pick up where we left off, and we'll get back on track. Be serious about what we're doing. So, you guys have a great evening, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow night.